Hey guys, we're the Jersey Comic Crew. In today's episode, you're going to get a full breakdown of The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, The Tragedy. Stay tuned for a quick recap, Easter eggs, and our theories for the next episode right after this.
Hey guys, Chris and Rob here for the Jersey Comic Crew and The Mandalorian. The Tragedy just dropped a couple of days ago. We're going to go through all the great stuff from Rob's recaps to breaking down the story to some of my Easter eggs that I found, and hopefully I found most of them because I'm sure other people have found some more.
I'm sure.
As well as all of our awesome theories and awesome speculation for the next episode. We're a couple days behind on this one. As you can see, Rob looks like he's in a new spot as well, right?
Yes, guys. I have officially moved out of my parents' place. I'm in a place of my own. So things have been a little haywire. So normally we do 2 separate episodes for this kind of stuff. Do a breakdown, Easter eggs, and then speculations. Today we're going to combine it for you, just to give you the best bang for your buck, if you will. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to do a quick recap of the episode with our Easter eggs drizzled across. Spoiler warning if you haven't already watched the episode, but if you're watching this, you already watched the episode because you are hyped about the tragedy.
Absolutely.
So the episode opens up. We see the Mando and Baby Yoda, Grogu, as we now know his name. They're aboard the Razor Crest. They're going to the planet Tython. Then the two land on the planet. They need to get Baby Yoda to the top of the mountain to put him on a steam stone. They take a jetpack ride over there, place him on the stone. He starts sitting there doing his, the quintessential Om. Mando looking around, waiting to see if anything happens. But he does see a ship in the distance. Mando gets scared, turns around, tries to get Baby Yoda to take him out of there. Boom, hits a force field, which is so cool because whenever you hear force, you think of force fields. I'm glad we got to see one in the show.
A legitimate force field.
Exactly. That ship is a very iconic ship. I didn't know it right off the bat, but I know super fans like you guys watching at home and Chris knew that was Slave One. That was Boba Fett's ship. So we get down. Mandalorian meets Boba Fett face to face. Tensions are rising. And Boba Fett's like, I need my armor back. I know you have it. He's like, I ain't giving you your armor back. I don't know who you are. You ain't a Mandalorian. What is this nonsense?
Belongs to the Mandalorians. He's like, oh, if you only knew.
Boba Fett's like, listen, give me it or I will shoot the baby. And he's like, what are you talking about? We see Fennec from season 1, who we thought was left for dead, was saved by Boba Fett. She now has a mechanical stomach, which is pretty cool.
Like steampunk style with all the pistons and I wonder what her diet is, but that's another time.
Mortal oil and cookies.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah.
That's my diet.
She must make one of those trips to Advanced Auto Parts like once a day.
Exactly. So they get in a standoff. They both drop their weapons and they come to an almost agreement. Mandalorian and Boba Fett were going to work together to bring Baby Yoda to where he needs to go, and in exchange, Boba Fett was going to get the armor. But the party and the fun and the peace gets interrupted real quick as we see Imperial ships coming down and landing on the planet full of stormtroopers. Fennec and Boba Fett go to meet the stormtroopers directly. We see the beautiful, probably some of the best action we've seen in Star Wars. Boba Fett is smashing, destroying these people with the Tusken Raiders staff weapon that he got from the previous episodes we saw, right? And then we see Fennec, the sharpshooter, just destroying these people. And the stormtroopers, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, I'm sure you got the same impression. They actually felt like warriors, like stormtroopers, right? Like you heard the chain of commands, they're running up. Mandalorian, if you could put aside all the cool stuff it does for the Mandalorian lore, the bounty hunters, they actually made stormtroopers somewhat cool, right? We saw them with the speed racers a couple episodes ago, and now with this trying to fight them off, but they're no match for Boba Fett. When he smashes through those helmets and you see the chunks fly off,
it's crazy. I've never seen the armor get like demolished like that, which I think was part of. I also think Favreau and Filoni really wanted to bring back Boba as like, dude, this guy died because Han Solo hit him with a stick half blind. Like, it kind of sucks. Like, let's bring him back in a big bad way. And that was to see him just unleash and like almost like 40 years of frustration onto these stormtroopers. But you're right. We also saw the stormtroopers give commands, very like tactical. One of the commanders actually said like, keep firing, you idiot, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, we actually saw them actually, they weren't just kind of I mean, they're kind of cannon fodder, but they weren't as far as like, hey, we're running in to die now. It was a little more like, tactical, and they had the turret gun we've seen in a couple different things. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I almost forgot a big Easter egg, Chris, and I wanted to talk to you about it. Yeah. When Mando and Boba Fett were talking before the fight, he was saying my father was a foundling. That's how he got the armor. And then he said some weird phrase. What exactly is a foundling for us who are not in the know? And what is the significance of the phrase? You say something, he's like a man through a galaxy or something like that?
Yeah, and like Boba Fett kind of confirms that his father, Jango Fett, who's played by the same actor just like 20 years ago, is a foundling as well as Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, is also a foundling, which basically means he was brought into the Mandalorian culture by something, right? He was found, he was saved from something, he was purged from something, and he was basically born and raised as a Mandalorian, wasn't born on Mandalore. Gotcha. So that's what he means by that, and he says the line, which we hear him say is Jango Fett, which is I'm just a man making my way through the galaxy, and this time he says the universe.
That's the line, yes.
Which is a callback to that, as well as a callback to Return of the Jedi, because he also says, like my father before me, which is the same line Luke says to the Emperor about, like, you failed, Your Highness, I'm a Jedi like my father before you. And he's like, okay, Jedi, yeah.
Okay, Jedi.
And kills him. Have to electrocutes him for 17 minutes. But yeah, that was really cool to see kind of they played off of his original lines as a different character, as a new character as well.
Pretty cool.
Really cool stuff.
So now we get to the fight. So while Boba Fett and Fennec are fighting, Boba Fett runs to the Razor Crest. We all assume to get his armor. Mandalorian meets Fennec. They're both fighting off the stormtroopers. They're getting overwhelmed because the second ship comes down. And then, glory be to the Mandalorian gods, Boba Fett has his armor, comes in. He does the knee missiles. He's shooting people. He does the gun flip. He's just smashing people. And like Mandalorian's like, oh, I'm doing stuff too, but he's like, oh, I'm not as cool as Boba Fett. Boba Fett's the man. He's like, that's what I need to be.
It's sick,
dude. And then
absolutely sick.
One of the coolest things in Boba Fett fashion, like we were talking about before, the stormtroopers retreat. Right, they go into their two little carriers. They start flying up into the sky, and then he bends over, shoots the missile, hits one, crashes into the other. They all fall down. That was some
he's
smooth
like,
shooting.
Nice shot. And he's like, I was aiming for the other one. And like, just like a boss, like just adding to the cool, like, oh, it's so good. Yeah, I was like, when I saw them flying away, I was like, oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna shoot him down. Like, he's gonna do the missile thing.
I didn't think he was gonna get two. I thought he was.
I knew. So I was like, he's gonna hit it. It's gonna. I knew the whole thing, and I didn't care. I was like, it's gonna happen. This is great. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved seeing, even though he looked a little like the guy at the high school reunion 20 years later and trying to still fit into his varsity jacket.
I mean, he fit in it. He did look a little pleasantly plump, as my grandmother would say.
I also wonder if in the future they're going to get he's going to add on to the armor, even though like it was his, because the armor is very minimal if you look at it, right? It's always kind of been like that. I wonder if he's going to add on to it and have like a full Boba Fett, just Mandalorian armor head to toe with some more Beskar.
Oh, maybe, and upgrade some pieces. It's a little dingy. Yeah. But now we get to the title of the episode. It's called The Tragedy. We get to the tragedy part of the episode. We see Moff Gideon on the Super Star Destroyer, whatever the ship's name is, up in the sky. He calls the rest of his people and said, send the Death Troopers. I want them. And then the Death Troopers come down like they're evil Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They come down to the top of the mountain.
Like swords.
They surround Baby Yoda while he's sitting there, Numo Gwegwe Fagi Sao, channeling the inner gods.
I was waiting for that. I know you're a huge Jackie Chan Adventures fan. I was like, he's gonna uncle this eventually.
So, and then Baby starts falling asleep because using the Force takes a lot of energy out of him. The robots grab him. They fly up. Mando does have his jetpack. Thankfully, Boba Fett jumps in a spaceship, flies after them. Mando's like,
very fast for a man that size.
Right?
Jesus.
He's like, don't shoot. Who shoot the baby? He's like, all right, but I'm going to follow. Let's see what's going on. He sees that it's the Empire, right? He sees the giant Empire ship. It says the Empire here. And, this throws everybody in the loop. They're like, all right, the Empire's back. What do we do? So in Mandalorian before anything else happens, a giant blast comes from the sky, comes down and destroys the Razor Crest, destroys Mando's ship.
No.
So Mando lost his child, lost his home, the ship, right?
And the question of, were there still people on that ship frozen in carbonite?
No.
Like, weren't there like,
I think
there was. I don't think so. I think there's a shot in like the first episode of season 2 where he's coming down and you still see there's like a row of like 4 or 5 people that are still in carbonite, either like bounties he didn't do. Because even the first episode, when he puts the guy in carbonite in the first ever episode, he's already got like a row of people, and we don't know. So they all might be just dead now.
They're dead. 100% they're dead.
They're
the Empire.
We'll write it off as a loss.
Yeah, they're like, write it off. I don't care. The only things to survive the crash was the Beskar spear. Mando still had the little ball that Baby Yoda played with in his pocket on his armor. And Mando does some more talking with Boba Fett and Fennec. They said, we made an agreement. I'm still going to help you get the child back. I got my armor. I'm still going to follow through. Which I was like, cool, awesome. So they all fly back to Navarro. Very familiar place for all of you Mandalorian fans. Where Mando talks to Cara Dune, who is now, looks like she's working for the New Republic. Yeah. He asks for her help to locate somebody. Locate Bill Burr's character, Mayfield, who's locked in prison. He was a former Empire soldier, right? I think a sharpshooter. So it looks like...
he's the one with that awesome, like, almost Predator-style turret gun.
Yeah, it just, like, comes out, scratches his ear, and shoots you in the face.
Yeah, basically. It's a back scratcher.
And now it's at the point where it looks like Mando is putting a team together to try to save Baby Yoda.
Task Force X.
The show, yes. Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. Some people are going to die, 100%. Then we get a cut to see Moff Gideon. We see Moff Gideon's side of the story. Moff Gideon walks into the chamber where we see Baby Yoda just force choking and destroying 2 stormtroopers. And I'm like, okay, Baby Yoda, you're a badass. And then Moff Gideon's like, oh, you're getting sleepy, aren't you? Well, look at this cool sword. Pulls out the darksaber, turns it on.
Like a dick.
Right?
He's like, oh, look. No. Oh, look at
you ever seen one of these before? The coolest weapon in all of history? Oh, no.
I'm like, what? What are you doing?
And then he puts it away, and then they put little baby handcuffs on him.
Oh, so adorable.
And then the last words that we see in the episode is Moff Gideon going to send an encrypted message to Dr. Pershing, the weird science guy we've seen in season 1 and 2, saying that the donor is on their way back and prepare for their arrival. So that was the episode. A lot of crazy stuff. I mean, the fact that we saw the Death Troopers come down is great. I can't wait to see Death Troopers fight against the Mando Task Force X that we're going to have here. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, I wanted to talk to you about any Easter eggs that I may have missed that the people at home or in the car, wherever you're watching this, at the doctor's office, need to know about.
Yeah, man. And there's a couple in here. There's one I'll save for the end, even though it's kind of in the middle, because this will go right into like theories and stuff. Oh, it's a kitty.
It's a cat.
It's a kitty cat. So one of them is, as we see like the fight going on, Fennec is like behind this boulder. She's kind of pinned down, and then she pushed it with her legs. Yeah, that was cool. A great scene. We kind of get the POV shot of the boulder coming at us in the screen, taking out the stormtroopers and like the turret guns. Very reminiscent of Raiders of the Lost Ark in the beginning, where Indiana Jones takes the little statue dude and like bolts it, and the stone's coming after him. Love that. So the other ones are when Baby Yoda's taken, and Boba Fett's going in the slave one to be like, I'm going to follow them. He mentions that the Empire is back. Yeah. And that is a big question mark, because I think we still don't know if the Empire is back, or is this the rise of the First Order? Because we're kind of in this in-between period between, 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and it's before, obviously, way before Episode 7. Well, so is this kind of the Empire's last resurgence, or is this going to be the kind of beginning formula of the First Order?
I think we're spoiled with knowledge of the future, so that's why we have the idea of the First Order. So it could be just the Empire still coming back, and then they have a name change, right?
Maybe,
so I don't. It's kind of hard to tell which one it is.
Yeah.
My question to you though is, we have 2 episodes left, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So do you think Mando, before he goes and fights the rest of Moff Gideon's forces, because we're going to get a big climactic battle, right? The next episode is the penultimate. It's usually the biggest episode, right, of any show. Do we see Bo-Katan? Does Bo-Katan join Mando with Bo-Katan's forces, and they all go together to take down Moff Gideon?
I think we may see Bo-Katan in the next episode, and I think Ahsoka comes back for the finale.
Yeah, that was my follow-up. So Ahsoka, not for the next one, but the one after.
I think Ahsoka's there for the finale. I think next week is very much the Prison Break episode.
Okay.
With possibly Bo-Katan and some of her people that, as we saw, are very quick and very good at that. Mm-hmm. Like, we're in and out, you know what I mean? And then I think the finale is going to be, will be an amazing kind of live action reunion of Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano as well. If not more characters, who knows? Maybe Sabine shows up. Who knows? I think it's all in for this Baby Yoda thing, finding him. And one of the last kind of Easter egg possibilities after all this stuff happened kind of ties in with what you said, but maybe for another character. So we saw that when Baby Yoda was in the actual like Force tunnel, like gauge, it was into the sky. It was crazy. We never got to see his point of view. Mm-hmm. We never saw what was in his head. And watching the episode, I was sitting there going, oh man, this is crazy. We're going to see what's happening in his head, and we're going to flip back to this fight scene. It's going to be like, cut here, cut here, cut here. Mm-hmm. We never get to see what's going on in his head. One thing we do get confirmation, though, is that he has clearly chosen the path of the Force.
Yeah, because he uses those powers to knock out the stormtroopers. Like, he's obviously becoming or accepting his power, right?
Yeah, because to me, he's even upped it, right? Because he's taking care of two dudes at once. We saw him like kind of choke Cara Dune in the first season a little bit, but this time we see him go. That's also really a possible hint to like, will he be susceptible to the dark side as well? That's usually a dark side power, the Force choking. We see Anakin do it. Yeah, we see all the Sith Lords do it. So like obviously they want to get him out of there faster to train him correctly, and maybe this will, who knows, maybe this kind of pushes Ahsoka into training him. I think so. But how this all ties in is a really big question based on if there's a quick shot of it's a pan shot where they're fighting and Mando does this thing where he just looks to see if he's still in the pillar. Mm-hmm. Like you can't see him clearly, but to see if he's still in the pillar. And there is a figure inside of that pillar that seems to be standing there with Baby Yoda. Oh. It's a really quick shot. You got to go frame by frame, but there looks to be almost like a human male that is standing like with Baby Yoda, like while he's in this Force thought, deep penetrated thought. And the rumor is that it's Luke Skywalker. He's the one he's connected to. Oh, I think it's a small possibility. I think it's a bigger possibility that it may be the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I could see it being the ghost of Obi-Wan. I think if any Jedi picked up on it, my bet is that with Ahsoka, right, you have two options of getting her into the final, right? You have Mando going out to Ahsoka to ask for help, which they could do, they could not do, because he's already went to one person, and if he goes to Bo-Katan, that's two, and him going for a third, that's a lot. The other cool option would be when Baby Yoda reached out, instead of trying to introduce a new Jedi or something else in this series, he could still have touched another Jedi, and we could show that later down the road and some other stuff. If it's like, oh, well, hey, I'm in danger, I sense this stuff. Ahsoka, I know you're a Jedi. I came out looking for you. I need you to come and find me and help me. And then she meets up with them as like
because she felt it.
Exactly, as an unknowing ally to Mando instead of him getting a Jedi with him, because it's still Mando with the whole ragtag, like a Suicide Squad, right? Like they're all like shooters and people hand to hand. Getting a Jedi is like bringing a ringer, but if the Jedi comes because of Baby Yoda, I think that's a more cohesive storyline, and you don't have to worry about getting this character and always down the road in another series. You could have the tie-in of like, oh, Obi-Wan series, oh, Baby Yoda touched out to me, right? I mean, well, he's dead at this point. But like Luke Skywalker, like, oh, yes, Guru touched out to me or some other thing. You could do that later. I think if you kind of keep it more secular, more within the characters we already know, I think it's going to be a better result. I think Star Wars fans,
that,
like you and me, we want the crazy stuff, but sometimes take it a step down is for the better story.
Absolutely, and they've been very good. Obviously, like Filoni and Favreau have been fantastic with, like, the storyline is simplistic in nature, right? It's like, got to get from point A to point B somehow, and all these side missions start popping up. But they've been able to make the bombastic, cool stuff, and also kind of shrink the crazy, like play with the toys stuff down to realism, to some sort of realism. The other aspect of the character that we're not thinking of is Cal Cestus. Kestis, sorry. Cal Kestis. He's the Jedi from Jedi Fallen Order, the video game.
I didn't even think about Cal.
That happens between episode 3 and 4, right after Order 66, and he is one of the Jedi in hiding. We've also seen a couple worlds that look like it's from the game. Cameron Monaghan is right at the perfect age. He played one of the Joker characters on Gotham. He's been in a bunch of different stuff.
Shameless is like how he from a little boy to now. Like he's great.
Yeah.
In that.
Could he be put in this series as Cal Kestis? Like go from, I mean, he was being Cal Kestis anyway in the video game. He was mocapped. He was doing the lightsaber fights. You could translate that and actually give him a role in this in some form or fashion, as him and his team could be possibly bringing a video game to life, which I know Lucasfilm doesn't always like to do as far as like droids and stuff, but that would be pretty sick to bring him back into the lore.
I love that idea, but I don't think they're going to do that now. I think they need another game with that character to kind of like push it to the edge.
Or to maybe I mean, you never know, right? I think they're going to do another game regardless. Like EA is totally going to do it to money grub, and we know how EA is with money. Yeah. But like if you take, maybe he's in it, we see him later on, and then Jedi Fallen Order 2 is how he gets to that point, maybe? Who knows?
I could definitely see that Jedi Fallen Order 2 dealing with this. Maybe he reached out and felt Baby Yoda and realized he has to help him.
And maybe he's the one who felt his presence, was like, oh my God, there's a Jedi, I have to go help him.
Could be. I think with regards to using Cal and Baby Yoda world and connecting the two, I think maybe it's Cal that we'll probably get to play this mission, gets Baby Yoda and helps him escape, and then he passes him off to somebody and he's aware of him. But then you also go into that factor that Ahsoka would know that a Jedi helped him, and we don't know that. But maybe Ahsoka didn't pry. I don't know. I mean, they could write their way around it and it'd be fine.
If Ahsoka felt something was wrong, she's gonna go act without going too much deeper and be like, "Oh, am I gonna waste time and figure out like all the ins and outs?" No, she's gonna go like just take care of it. So I think they could write around that easily.
I think it's more likely we'll see the connection between them two, if there is one, in the video game, less than the show, because that character and that IP still needs to grow a little bit before we bring it over into this one and play with that.
And I'm totally fine with that. I'd love to see that Jedi game on a next gen system as well.
So last little bit of like speculation for the next episode, I wanted to touch base with you, Chris.
Yeah.
With Moff Gideon, he talks about the word donor. He used that very specifically. The donor is here. Mm-hmm. With the events of this episode and the way he was talking, do you think he is serving somebody else? Do you think there's a boss above Moff Gideon or somebody he's working closely with to kind of get this secret science fair project off the ground? Or do you think Moff Gideon's still the head? Do you think we're going to see any revelations in the next episode?
I still do, and I know it's not the most popular take right now because everyone loves Giancarlo Esposito. He's like the perfect bad guy and everything. Yeah. Back since, Breaking Bad. I think he is answering to Thrawn. I really do. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, that kind of diminishes Moff Gideon. I don't think it does. I think Moff Gideon, in order to keep the show going, I don't think you could play the game of cat and mouse every season where it's like, we called to Moff Gideon, he escaped. We called to Moff Gideon, he escaped. I think there has to be a point, either there's this huge showdown and this takedown, and then you realize Thrawn's in the background of all of this, and the stakes just get tripled. I also think the word donor means that, one, he's not trying to get powers for himself. He's not trying to inject himself with midichlorians to be force sensitive. I think he is either under someone or is being controlled by someone. I think they're trying to invent Snoke or some form of Palpatine. I think that's the word
donor implies that they're doing it to a host of someone they know, not an experiment. I think the word donor, like you said, is like, we got to do this for Palpatine's new body. So or like Palpatine himself to try to bring it back. I'm fine with that.
Or Snoke, like, hey, this is maybe Palpatine. The Emperor in his death left us strict guidelines for his death, right? You see that if anyone played Star Wars Battlefront 2 in the storyline, one of the biggest first scenes is like this droid with this fake face, and it's the Emperor's almost like video will monologues of like, in case of my death or in case something happens to me, this is what you do. I think there's different levels to that as well, right? Like, some random pilot in a TIE fighter isn't going to get the same message that like a Moff Gideon or a Thrawn would get. So I think they could be the ones, creating Snoke that will eventually become the First Order and all that. I think the word donor is big here.
I think so too. Guys, that is our review, recap, Easter egg, breakdown, speculations for The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, The Tragedy. Down in the comments below, we want to hear your thoughts. What did you think of this episode? What are your theories for next episode and the future of the Mandalorian series?
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you can. Really helps the show out. And if you're brand new here, make sure to like and subscribe. You do not want to miss any more Mandalorian news. You don't want to miss any news that we cover. We go in depth on basically everything in pop culture.
Yes.
It's just Mandalorian right now is what we're talking about. And as always, Chris and Rob here, and we will see you next time on the Jersey.